Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds, and today I'm hanging out with Dan Dillon, who I actually got to meet recently in person, which was really cool.
Yeah, that was a great time. It's good to talk to you again.
Yeah, I had a little trouble recognizing you at first. I wasn't looking up.
Right, right. Yeah, I got that a lot over Origins weekend, that I'm a lot taller than people expected me to be.
On the internet, everyone's like this big, so
Oh, yeah, yeah, everyone's fits on a postage stamp, so.
yeah, yeah. But no, that was really cool. So you were there representing Cobalt Press, but you were also tapped as a like celebrity GM, right?
Yeah, that was actually really, really cool. I got to take part in the Adventurers League D&D Open, which years and years ago they used to run the AD&D Open. It was a tournament style thing, multiple tables, multiple teams running. You'd score points based on how well you did in a scenario. You'd lose points for dying, that kind of stuff. And then there was a winner at the end, and you get some prizes. And it was an interesting time. Adventurers League has sort of revived it. And I know it runs at Origins. I don't know if they actually run it at any other conventions, but it was cool. They've revamped it a little bit where it's not necessarily who does the best. It's, who does awesome stuff, whether that is succeed in with great glory or fail with just massive meltdowns. Those can trigger some success like achievements as well, and it's neat. You get rewards for your characters that can persist throughout the entire season of Adventurers League. It was a lot of fun, and I got tapped to be a VIP DM to run special encounters, which were these sort of either in the first round it was just a single encounter, in the second round it was a series of 3 encounters that tables would get pulled out of their regular adventure, come over to one of the special encounter tables and get to do this like special side mission. That was interesting because depending on how well people did at those, it would create benefits for the other tables that are playing the regular missions. So that was really cool.
So okay, so what they did affected everybody else.
Yeah.
So in what way did it affect them? Make it better? Make it worse?
I'm not actually sure on the exact specifics. Somebody ran through the list, but it was so fast, and I was so so eyebrow deep in what I was doing, I couldn't make solid note of it. But I believe it created more beneficial conditions for them in whatever scenarios they had coming up. Like either they would get like a bonus to help them deal with a tough thing because they would get the blessings of the god Return to Chult. The first one was to return an idol of Ugtau from a place where it had been sort of locked away by a malevolent force, and return it to the jungle of Chult so it could return and protect its children from the evil spreading there that's going to encompass all of Toril. And so if you successfully got the idol out through the portal, fighting off all the bad guys, that I don't want to get into too much. I don't want to spoil it if they're going to run it again. So I won't get into the twist of that encounter. But if you successfully return the idol through the portal to Chult, then I believe that created bonuses or weakened monsters or weakened certain encounters later. That kind of deal.
Yeah, this is supposed to be the longest season, right? For
Season 7 coming up is going to be quite long. Yeah, and actually, I have the good fortune to be writing one of the official Adventurers League adventures for Season 7. So I'm looking forward to that.
now that's all the stream of all the annihilation stuff,
Yeah.
and basically, yep. I guess they kicked off in Origins with like the preview.
Yeah, I believe they ran 7-1 is what I want to say it was. It was the first adventure of Season 7. It was pretty cool. You get to pick which guide or which patron you want to work for in the jungle of Chult, and then you get to go explore some ancient temples and ruins and see what craziness you can get up to there of the 9 various missing gods or whatever was going on with it. But yeah, there's going to be quite a few adventures. I think they're even going all the way up to Tier 4, which is all the way up to 20th level. This season.
Yeah, I know there was like the preview they were running was like a 5-parter, which seemed really cool. We got me and staff writer Doug who had the opportunity to take part in one of them, and had we known, maybe we would have tried to hit the rest of them, but we were pretty busy down there. The D&D room was hopping.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. It was constantly full, and I was pretty busy there running tables. But next time I go to Origins, I'm definitely going to snag some generics and see if I can get in on some of that action. It looked like a great time.
Yeah, I know for the most part they had you locked away.
Yeah.
In the Cobalt Press vault.
Yeah. Which was a different room depending on which day it was, but that's all right. We'll iron out some of the kinks. This was Cobalt Press's first time running stuff at Origins, so all in all, it was a great show. Great show. Good learning experience. I think next year is going to be even better.
Nice. You told me, I believe you said you're heading to Gen Con this year, right? You go pretty much every year because you guys are locals.
I'm in Indy. I don't have any excuse for not going.
Yeah, I definitely feel you. That's like PAX Unplugged this year. People are asking, are you going to go? And it's like 20 minutes from my house.
Right,
I could literally drive every day if I chose. So I was like, I guess I got to.
You got to saunter in, see what's what. Let the rest of us know.
Plus, it's the first one. How often do you get to go to the first one?
Exactly. Get in on the ground floor.
Yeah. So, are you going to be working for Cobalt Press at Gen Con?
I don't know that I'm slated to do any Kobold work at Gen Con. That is something that I might have to look into. My schedule is in a little bit of flux, always almost right up until the show. The things I'm going to be doing for sure is I'm helping run the Four Horsemen Open again this year, which is always a great time. In fact, we picked up that idea from having gone to the AD&D Open years ago, and we were like, there's no big tournament style kind of team competitive thing anymore. Let's do one. So we started, and we've done it a couple years running now. It's been awesome every time. So
for those of us that don't know what that is, what is
that? So the Four Horsemen Open is a Pathfinder team competition tournament style event where you sign up for the first round, and there's a bunch of tables. I think we had 10 tables last year, something like that, 10 or 12. And there's an ongoing storyline that'll run in basically 2 parts. And depending on how well you do in each of the encounters, there's a scoring system in place. And the team top 4, I believe, the top 4 tables who score highest, they move on to the second round. And the second round is the next day, same time slot, or should be same time slot. Got to check on that. But yeah, so you move into that, and then you try to finish the scenario and deal with whatever crazy shenanigans the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse have got up to in the world, and try to thwart them, or maybe try to help them. There might be 2 different ways to complete the scenarios, depending on your moral and ethical bent. And so we control it pretty tightly. It's all pre-generated characters. Everybody has the same loadout, and so nobody's gonna get ahead on points because they have a more optimal build. Everybody's got the same stuff. It's cool, and so we have some fantastic celebrity and guest and friends of the Four Horsemen GMs that are running it. We've had Scott Holden from Drive Thru RPG. We've had Owen Casey Stevens from Rogue Genius and Paizo. Ben McFarland. We've had a lot of Jason Nelson from Legendary Games. We had a lot of really cool people help us out, donate their time and their impressive GM skills to help make the event awesome. And then at the end of the whole shebang, there are prizes, prizes just for making it to the final table, prizes just for showing up to the first one, and then increasing prizes based on how you place at the end. So Paizo has donated, all of our friends in the third-party publishing world donate just massive amounts of products. I think we gave everybody a copy of, God, I'm trying to remember what it was last year. There was a bunch. We gave people some Occult Adventures, just handed those out. So, show up, get some awesome books.
Nice swag. Gamers love swag.
Yeah.
So that's a 2-day event then?
It is, yeah.
And so how many is that? 3 tiers?
No, tier. We only have the one. You mean tiers by like level range or anything like that?
No. When I say tiers, I mean by the first day, the teams that score the highest get to go to the next day.
2. Oh, just two. So okay. There's a first round and a final round.
Gotcha.
So the 4 tables that score highest on the first day move on to the final.
Score. So is that like a living world that you guys do, or
not particularly? I mean, we do keep in mind some of the stuff we did in the previous years, just as an aside. But so far we've done 2 of them, and the first one was a date with death, where the Horseman of Death was messing around and had stolen the souls of some of your loved ones, and one of his underlings was trying to supplant him, was the main issue, and he was trying to get you to do his dirty work for him. And then in the second year, it was a War to Remember. The Deacon of War was trying to plunge an entire world into unending world war, and you could either cause that by assassinating the diplomats for peace, or you could thwart that by killing all the demons that were there to frame one side against the other and play them off. But no, they didn't have anything directly to do with one another. There may be like Easter eggs and breadcrumbs and tie-ins here and there, but nothing substantive. So if you miss out on one, you're not going to be missing anything for a future event.
Okay, cool. How many games did you end up running this over at Origins? I know you ran a lot.
Yeah, let's see. I had 5 tables scheduled. So I ended up, unfortunately, not quite running that many due to some issues with visibility and a few other things. We didn't, I don't think we promoted it quite as well as we need to. So that's noted for the future, and we're going to make sure that that blast gets out there. But I ran a couple tables of Last Gasp, the adventure I wrote for 5th edition. Let's see, I was there with some of my Kobold minions. Stephen Rowe was running Atop the Warring Blasphemies for Pathfinder, which I think you guys got to play in, didn't you?
We did.
Yeah, isn't that a sweet adventure?
The environment is so freaking cool.
Right? Yeah, that one, for anyone who's not aware of that, that's set in the western wastelands of Midgard, which is just an area that's a blasted apocalypse, post-apocalyptic magical wasteland from an ancient war between a bunch of magocracy, mage-controlled states. And the way they sort of ended this war and killed each other is they conjured these great old ones, basically these giant Cthulhuid monsters, and just turned them loose on everything, and they just laid waste. But they're still there. They're kind of locked in time and frozen in this moment of death, not death. Some of them just sort of mindlessly shamble slowly across the landscape, and they're these like cults of goblins that have sprung up in their wake and build villages on their bodies or being dragged behind the walking ones on great chains. And that, I believe, is what you're dealing with. You're dealing with some crazy-ass dust goblins and all the weird, warped, aberrant things that happen, and you're climbing around on top of these sort of dead, not dead, ancient, godlike things.
Yeah, that is exactly the adventure we went through, and I thought that basically having the adventure on and through the Cthulhu monsters was super cool. Stephen did a great job with running that adventure for us. We had talked about that quite a bit when he was on.
Yeah.
The other day. Actually, you were here too. You're hanging out in the chat.
Actually, that one I missed. No, that one I didn't. I was offline for a bit, and I had actually missed that was happening until just afterwards. I was bummed.
I was thinking the day Robert was on, you were chilling in the chat.
Yeah. That was me. Yep.
Which we greatly appreciate. You were answering a lot of the questions that people had.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I hope you didn't mind me jumping in there.
No, actually, it was helpful, especially when it came to the AL stuff. It's actually just this year that we've done any dabbling with that at all. I mean, it's always, for us, it's always been homebrew.
Yeah, I'm new to the Adventurers League scene as well. So Origins was a very cool experience for me to kind of get kicked into the deep end of that and just kind of steep in it for a while. It's a different, very fun experience.
So I'm guessing I know the answer, but did you get to play in any games?
No, not even a little bit. No,
I didn't think so.
I was all game running all the time. I was planning to have some time on Saturday when I originally made my schedule for Origins so that I could, go around, check some stuff out, catch a seminar or two maybe. And then the call came out, hey, we need people to help us with this table. Would you be willing? And well, all right, there's the rest of my Saturday. Whoop. But no regrets. That was fantastic. I actually had some of just the most amazing times with the groups that came through my tables. It was great.
It's the burden of being a famous industry guy.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, well, I'll take it.
It's all relative. Hey, you're gonna be famous to those people now.
Yeah, I hope so. It seemed like they had a good time, and that's what I'm there for. So it was real gratifying to hear people talk about, oh yeah, it was so cool to go up there and do this thing. And yeah, it was great. People talking about it on Twitter afterwards. It was a trip. Yeah,
5 games in one weekend. No, that's a lot.
It's a lot, but it's a convention. It's what I'm ready for. So.
Yeah, we do. I think we've got about 4 games running right now a week, and I run 2 of them.
Oh man.
So yeah, so showing up and playing, not so bad.
Yeah. Having to prep and run multiple campaigns in a week, that starts to get real.
So the fortunate thing is we do our online sessions are rather short. We just do 2 hours.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of condensed down. I feel like when you game online, you're able to get more gaming in.
I've only recently gotten into watching some of the like live streamed or recorded games. Like I just picked up Dice Camera Action, the one that Chris Perkins runs for the Waffle Crew on the D&D Twitch stream. And yeah, it really seems like you can. I don't know what it is about that format. I would think that it would increase the jackassery, but but it seems to help keep everybody focused somehow. I don't know. It's a little counterintuitive.
Well, I guess part of it is like you can't get you're not getting up walking around. People aren't even really taking bathroom breaks. You're not really eating while you're playing. You just kind of like focus on the game, condenses it down.
I can see that.
I've found it works. It's worked fairly well for us. We stream. I guess we stream like four or five games a week now, something like that. Or no, maybe it's
wow.
3. Right now we're streaming. Let's see, 3. We got a D&D game, a Marvel Phase Rip game, if you can believe that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, going a little old school, and an Open Legend game.
Oh, nice. Open Legend's cool.
And then, and then I play on a Twitch stream once a week right now. I think that's about to wrap up because we got some other things going on in the near future.
Yeah.
And then we have our actual live in-person game. And sometimes I feel like that game, which is we're playing from anywhere 3 to 5 hours, maybe even 6 hours, I feel like we get less accomplished than we do in those like 2-hour sessions sometimes.
Yeah. Weird how that works out.
But it's all good. Like
yep.
I don't watch very many streams. It's every once in a while I'll try to, but it's just not my thing. But I just know a lot of people enjoy it. And it's just become a form of entertainment. And I guess some people, they can't game, so they vicariously game through us.
Yeah, I get it. I get that. It took me a little bit to get into it, but I'm finding that I really enjoy watching Dice Camera Action. There's a lot of I take a lot of inspiration from it. I'm starting to think, all right, I can carve out another night of the week to run Curse of Strahd. We can do this. We'll see what happens.
They've got you hooked.
They do.
Even the games I do enjoy watching. I guess the biggest problem is just the time commitment.
Yes.
It's hard.
Well, like Critical Role, that's the big barrier to entry for me, is that each of those episodes is 3-ish hours, and there are over 100 of them now.
Yeah.
I don't know how I can make that work.
It's an investment. I know. Yeah. Staff writer Doug, he watches a bunch of the different streams, but he's able to listen to them why he works. I guess that's what it depends on what you've got going on.
Right.
When I used to do road construction, there would be a lot of travel time, so I'd be able to listen to a lot of things while I was driving.
Yeah, and that would help. I think I know that Critical Role recently just did their stuff for audio podcast, and that would make people with commutes, they'd be able to get in on the action.
Doug is laughing at you. 3 hours, more like 5 or 6.
Oh, really? Oh God.
Yes.
Oh man. Not helping.
Yeah. You just unsold them.
Well, it's not exactly unsold. It's just more cementing that I do not have the time to try and catch up on Critical Role. Unfortunately, I wish I'd heard about it early enough to get in on it and to see if it was my thing. Because I hear a lot of cool stuff, and like Joey Hake, another writer for Cobalt Press, who was running tables at Origins. He's a cool dude, and he is pretty intimately tied with them. He worked on the campaign setting for the Critical Role stuff, the Tal'Dorei campaign setting book that's coming up from Green Ronin.
Okay.
Yeah. So he tweets about it all the time, and I'm always watching. I'm seeing his tweets roll by, and I'm just like, oh man, I wish, but.
Yeah. Well, it comes down to a certain time. It's like you have your work, and then it's like family. So that's literally like, all right, family. Like this night, you guys, or this day, you're not just going to see me at all.
Yeah.
I guess the trick would be able to get it would be to try and get your family to watch it with you.
Yeah, that's just compounding the obstacles.
I know.
Not like my kids, they're starting to get to the point now. Well, they've been interested in D&D for a long time, but now they're 6 and 8, so they're to the point where it's like, all right, let's maybe start thinking about making this happen. So particularly my son, he's ready to go. He looked through. We read through Dungeonology. If you guys have seen that book. it's not an actual game book. It's by Matt Forbeck. It's in the ology series, like Piratology, Dragonology, and it's just sort of like it's written kind of from an in-game by Volo, I think, sort of a perspective on it. And it's like, here's D&D, but from the immersive role-playing side of it, and it tells you about basically everything that an adventuring party, the Forgotten Realms, tells you all about what those things are without using a bunch of mechanical jargon. And it is the best, right? It's like, if any non-gamer ever comes over to my house and says, so what's this D&D thing all about? I'm just going to hand them Dungeonology and say, take a gander. And that's pretty much it right there. So I love that thing, and my kids dug into it, and my son's like, he's starting to pick out his character that he wants to play, and so he's ready.
The PR people from certain companies send us stuff, and that was one of the things that we got.
Cool.
And we actually have, I think we have a flip through on our channel somewhere of that.
Nice.
So we started to lose track of what we got over there. We're closing in on 2,000 videos. So
yeah. You guys are cranking these days. It's good to see.
Yeah, I don't even know what we talk about anymore. Sometimes we'll do a video, and like some of our more diehard fans will be like, you've done this video like 4 times.
Hey, every now and then topics are worth a revisit, right? The design evolves.
We're a bunch of old guys anyway. We've like completely forgotten what we said the last time anyway. Or we get questions and people are like, all right, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
Have you thought about No Thank You Evil? That'd be a good one.
I have. I've looked into that, and I've heard a lot of great things about it. And that's one that I'm looking into maybe for my 6-year-old. It might be a little easier for her to sink her teeth into than full blown. As stripped down and streamlined as 5th edition is, people love to call it rules light. It's not rules light, guys. It's rules light compared to 3rd edition. It's not rules light in the grand scheme of things. There's still 300 pages. The player's handbook is a 300-page rule book, so that is not a rules light system.
It's no Fate accelerated.
Indeed. Yeah. We're not talking army ants here.
Yeah. My partner Ted, he played 2-3 sessions with his kids, and they are 8 and just about 5, I think. So he was able to, and the way they do resource management in that game makes it really easy because there's chits.
Oh, nice.
So at the same time, I guess it kind of teaches basic math really easy because they have to pay for everything they want to do.
Cool. That's awesome.
So that that makes it easy. And they also, I believe the game has like 3 different difficulty tiers that you can play at. So depending on how advanced your players are, so you can mix it up a little bit.
Nice.
So, and I think they just came out with another expansion too. So I think there's like 2 or 3.
Man, we have to get caught up before I'm left in the dust again.
I probably would have liked it a few years ago. I would have tried it with probably with my kids. I probably tried D&D a little bit too early. So my daughter just couldn't. She just wasn't into it, which I thought she would have been. I thought she was still into playing with dolls at the time.
Gotcha.
So I was like, well, the minis are like small dolls, right?
Yeah. Well, and there's a certain amount of whatever you try to push on your kids, they're going to reject, right? But I don't try to push the D&D thing. They just see all the stuff that I'm doing, and it's interesting to them, and they see me, getting the minis out and drawing maps. I think they love it when I draw, get the maps drawn out on the vinyl, and so that's all I think hooked the imagination. I think we'll be able to get them in some dungeons.
Yeah, one of our friends, his advice is to hide it from your kids.
Yeah.
Make it unobtainable.
That's funny. Make it forbidden fruit.
Exactly. Yeah. So instead of raiding your liquor cabinet, they're raiding your D&D shelf.
Cool.
It's probably better that way. Yeah. My son games with us. He was gaming with us. He got involved in Mutants and Masterminds, and then we started a D&D campaign. And he wanted to play, but he's like, you guys record your games. I don't want to be on camera. So it took him a little while, but he actually eventually he wanted to play more than he didn't want to be recorded.
Gotcha. So do you guys record all your games?
We do.
Oh, cool.
Actually, it's nice when I occasionally do get into a game and there's not a camera rolling.
I bet it does change things up a little bit, huh?
Yeah, you know what? I think a lot of times I end up also like I'm distracted because I'm worried about like the recording aspect of things,
Yep.
and like to just show up and not to think about nothing but the game.
Right, right.
There's something to be said for that.
Yeah, so at Origins, I actually had the occasion to meet Chris Perkins and talk to him for a good while. Who, by the way, if you get the chance, anybody out there watching, absolutely catch him at a con, say hello. He's one of the most delightful human beings I've ever met. And he was talking about, doing some of the live streaming stuff that the D&D and the Maze Arcana crew were doing there at the Adventurers League, the D&D area at Origins, and yeah, they kept running into recording sound problems because it's a big room with a lot of noise, and those curtains weren't quite cutting it as far as damping all of that out. And it's just like, it's got to be rough to try and run a game, live with the extra pressure of, is something in the computer going to glitch out, or is a cable going to fail, or yeah.
Absolutely. I actually went up to talk to him one time. He was standing there, and Shelly was there, and some of the Maze Arcana crew were there, and I had thought they had just finished filming, and then I looked, they were playing Betrayer, and I don't know if you're familiar with that game or not.
I'm very familiar with Betrayal at House on the Hill. I love it. It's one of my favorite board games, and I'm super stoked that they're D&D-ifying it. And I didn't get to demo it, unfortunately. I really wanted to, but I was just too busy.
Yeah, so I started to walk up and start fanboying out, and then I looked, and I was like, oh, the haunt. That's why you guys left the table.
Ah, nice.
And then I look back, and Rudy Rutenberg was reading his part because I guess he was the betrayer.
Right.
And that is probably one of my favorite board games. And that's about as complex as I like to play, to be honest.
Yeah, there are some board games that are just a little too much for me. If you're starting to hit the 3 and 4 hour mark, you hit my oh, hey Dex, say hi to the peoples. All right, move along. One of my little goblins running around.
Happens. Yeah. But yeah, I find like, well, you know what it is? Sometimes too, games are just really long without a lot of interesting things going on, and that's one of those games that it can be long, but it's interesting the whole time.
Yeah. There's always something doing. There's something to explore. There's something new to find. There's some new hazard to watch out for. And then once the haunt hits, just everything's out the window and it's all go, no stop.
So I'm more of like a Quarriors and Smash Up kind of guy.
Gotcha.
Something I'd rather play like the same game a bunch of times than just play, Arkham Horror all day.
Oh, hey, I just saw my sister in the chat. Hi, Tree.
Nice. Oh, yeah.
Auntie Teresa just said hi, Dex.
And so did Truemate. And I believe he's over in the UK.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Hey, guys, as we continue to chat along, if you want to start the roll call, feel free. Yeah, I think Truemate is over in Wales. I don't know. This is like number 64. That's right. It says it right there. So I'm starting to like remember where some of these people are from.
Yeah, you're starting to see familiar names,
which is kind of cool. And also, you're the first like quote unquote friend of the show now because you've been back more than once. You've been here more than once.
Yeah.
We're starting to loop back around.
Yeah, it was what did I think Doug said it was the first of the second timers club.
Yeah.
Inaugural member. I see him asking there, what do I have in the pipe? Any more delicious Void material? Actually, yes. I have just written several things Void magic related. One is a series of sort of dark and villainous magic items. Not to say that only villains can use them, but they draw from the more, as I've been calling them, the more icky sides of the Midgard magic. Void magic is generally for the bad guys, and if your players get a hold of it, that's maybe a forbidden lore sort of deal you're getting into. So I wrote a series of Void magic themed magic items. Ranging in power from an uncommon item all the way up to a legendary, and I even have a sentient item in there as well. And that should be showcasing on the Kobold Press blog soonish. I don't have a release date for that yet, but keep an eye on the Kobold Press blog. And if you guys want to keep up on what Kobold is doing, definitely sign up for the newsletter. It's not spammy. Has all kinds of cool gaming inspirational stuff from all around news in the world and archaeology that comes out, as well as all the cool stuff that Kobold and the Friends of Kobold Press are doing. So check that out. I also wrote a piece on an expansion for the Void Magic, Deep Magic that I did on Void Taint, which is sort of like a corruptive influence where it starts to twist your mind and maybe even warp your flesh in weird, tentacly, slimy, Cthulhuid ways. The more you delve into this dark power and channel it through yourself. Oh, hello, Izzy. Let him down, please. Showcasing the animal. So that is not actually coming out on the blog. That's going to be something else. And I don't know how much that has been revealed yet. So I'm actually going to have to hold off before spilling the beans. Go away. You're being a distraction. Someone loves the spotlight. But yeah, so there's plenty of Void Magic coming up, and we'll definitely be doing some expansion for that. One of my deepest regrets on the Void Magic Deep Magic chapter is there just were not enough words to do everything I wanted to do. The word count was too small.
You got a streamer in the making over there, man.
Yeah, apparently that's he wants to be a YouTuber, so we'll see how that works out.
I tried to convince my son. I'm like, you play all these games online anyway, just record them. So I'm going to jump into the chat right now. We got Chris in Houston, Truemate in Wales, Doug in Cleveland, Gripply Games in Wisconsin. We got Prue in Denmark. We got Aaron in Manila, Philippines. Nice. Massachusetts in the house.
Yep.
We got California in the house, Minnesota, evil silly buddy. Not that we use a good silly buddy. Steve in Kentucky, Corpus Christi, Texas with Andrew. And of course, we have the armpit of the Golden State with S. Daniel, of course.
Luxembourg. Nice.
More California with Mazer. Michigan, Bunions and Dragons. Fort Lauderdale in the house with Andrew. Like you said, Luxembourg. We got Finland, Germany, with Wefrap in Germany there, and
Munich. Yes, Munich.
Everything's Finland, which is it's always cool. I love seeing those foreign countries, other countries, I should say, our international audience. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. I love the reach. Paris, France. Look at that. Nice. Yeah,
it's crazy coming in from all over today.
We're global.
Yeah, nerds are going to rule the world. We're working on it.
Yeah, we're chipping hard at it.
Yeah, I was watching the animal earlier in the window. It looked like he was trying to get at something over there.
Oh, probably. Yeah, we got a bird feeder out there. So
yeah, he's like
usually
what?
Turns into a squirrel feeder, but so he's there. We have two cats. They're usually pressed up against the window there.
Yeah. Some Canada coming in late.
Nice.
And actually, the game I play in tonight is with my friends from Canada. So, which is really cool. I wish they would just run their game earlier. It starts at like 10 o'clock at night my time. I'm like, you guys are killing me. I'm an old man. I'm an old man. I can't stay up late anymore.
It's rough.
Yeah, Doug actually, I believe a lot of the game he's running has actually been inspired by the Void Dragon.
Yeah, we got to meet him as well at Origins, which was quite awesome. And he was telling me about his campaign that kind of took a hard left and decided to go spell jamming because of the Void Dragon. That's super cool. That was one of my babies from the Tome of Beasts. I got to do the 5th edition design on the Void Dragon, so I'm super proud of those. And people have been eating it up, especially that nasty surprise on the ancient Void Dragon. So that's cool.
Yeah, I got all my D&D books stacked here. So
there he is.
Yeah, he's not far.
Unrelated side note about the cover, Dyson Logos, who people may know about, is a pretty master cartographer. He has this habit of putting sticky Google eyes on all of his game book covers. Mm-hmm. So, he's got the 5th Ed Monster Manual with the Beholder, and it's got googly eyes on all of its eye stalks and everything. He Google-eyed the Tome of Beasts cover with the Void Dragon and the adventurers on it. And I love that so much. That's now my Twitter, not my profile pic, but like the cover page.
I'm gonna have to try and reach out to him again. I've tried to get him on here as well. His maps are amazing.
Yeah, they're incredible, and he just does so much outreach and just like, here's a free map. My patrons on Patreon have made this possible, so this is an open license map. Use it, have fun. And that's
he's
amazing.
got a bunch of those. Yeah.
Yep. That's and I think we might actually see some of his stuff in some upcoming official material. We'll see. Can't talk about that much, but I think there's some exciting stuff coming from Dyson outside of his own little personal publishing.
It deserves to be in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, those are great. I actually, for the adventure I ran at Origins, I drew out the maps on gaming paper so I could hopefully reuse them, and it worked out. Thank God, because I didn't have a vinyl mat. But I used he has a very signature hatching that he uses to show the solid parts of the map. The solid rock and solid walls and whatever, and it's so distinctive that people have started referring to it as Dyson Hatch, and I used that for the first time, and I feel like it really kicked my maps up to a new level.
I'm gonna have to. I didn't take notice. I'm gonna have to go back and take a look at that. So distinguished now.
Yeah.
I just remember always when I used to draw my maps, I would just scribble.
Right.
You gave it a fancy name. I would just scribble.
Yeah, hatching.
So you are playing in a game with Steve, or Steve is playing a game with you, correct?
Stephen Rowe, yeah, he is currently running my campaign, which plays tonight. We're back into it. I'm excited. We're currently doing Out of the Abyss. And
how far along are you guys in there?
We just recently hit level 8. It's difficult to say how far along we are through the story because it's very non-linear. We've done a bunch of different things. We've done the Neverlight Grove. We've been to Mantle Dareth. Obviously, we did the Velkenvelf thing. We've gone crisscross the Dark Lake. We've been to Graven Hollow. We've done some stuff in Gracklestugh. And I know we did some things that were more or less out of order. It's difficult to say whether there's an order or not, given to how it's set up. But so he's had to redo just a hell of a lot of stuff in there too. Okay, well, here's just a bunch of cultists. You guys are level 7. You'll frog stomp them. This is dumb. I have to kick it up because you guys aren't level 2 anymore. So he redid a bunch of encounters and have a lot of cool stuff going on. He's messed with the backstory pretty heavily too. So there's a lot that's off the script, but it's still recognizable.
That's probably one of my favorite adventures that I'm never going to probably run.
Oh no! Well, everybody you play with has already read it.
No. We just never do pre-made adventures. We buy them all, okay. And we just never run them. But we just like pick them apart. Like there's so much good stuff in that book. If you're running an Underdark game, there's a ton of stuff. You got all the demon lords.
The Gallery of Angels. Oh. If you guys have that book and you haven't run it or you're not going to run it, think about snagging the Gallery of Angels out of the Labyrinth and just throwing that in somewhere and tying that into your game. That is such a cool encounter, and it gets nice and dark. I like it.
Nice. What level is that?
What level is it? That one doesn't even really have any sort of level because of the way it's set up. The way that works is it's a nice tie-in to something else.
Okay.
So it can work for pretty much any level. That's part of what I like about it.
Yeah, it's got me thinking because I just dropped some of my group from last night actually. They just dropped beneath the city, so that might be something interesting to throw in there.
Yeah. Check out that encounter. Lots of imagination hooks in it. I'm sure you can figure out something cool to do with it.
Oh yeah. I don't know. This group, it might be a bad idea to give them too much imagination stuff. They don't need much to work with before going crazy.
Gotcha. Yeah. It'll be fun either way.
It always is. That the one game I run is the Sister Scarlet Hood, and it's all lady players in that game, and they're always doing crazy stuff. And right now they've switched the main campaign focus from what it originally was to they are trying to fund building a bathhouse.
Cool. That's neat. Yeah, I love that kind of stuff. In the previous 5ed campaign we ran that went up all the way up to 20th level, which was neat. I did, my character was a guild artisan. He was a jeweler. And so we did a lot with economics. I mean, not a lot with economics, but, bringing in treasure, there was an issue with it. Adventurers were taxed. We had to pay taxes. And so we had to either, figure out ways to pay them or get around them. Some of us who were involved with thieves guilds would find ways to launder our money so it looked like our taxes were paid. Other people, like, you could donate to your church and that was basically a tax write-off, and that could have other benefits for you. It was really cool. Economics is not something that everyone wants to dig into in D&D. And it's not something that every DM is equipped to really mess with, but we got into it in this one. It was a lot of fun, and it added a lot of cool elements. Like, we brought in a bunch of imports, like rare exotic imports from the Isle of Dread, and had to deal with customs. And how are we going to move this stuff, and what merchants are we going to talk to? And that was a cool sidetrack from kicking indoors, slaying monsters, and collecting loot. And, and I built a jeweler business, and we used some of the business running rules, and a buddy of mine had a silver mine. So we kind of played off of each other with that. It was a lot of fun.
The in-person game we're playing, my partner Ted runs, it deals a lot with a blood demon lord and blood cultists, but at the same time, we have a character that was running a tailor shop, and then he actually became the mayor. Our cleric is an unwilling cleric. He was chosen by the god, and he's like the seventh son of a merchant house, an elven merchant house, and all he wants to do is prove his worth to the merchant house by merchanting. So he's always trying to put together deals. Even like the character I was playing was a dwarven smith that would, when he wasn't off adventuring, would just work at the local smithy shop just to keep his skills honed. So yeah, we've messed with quite a bit of that and used the other rules for or the rules in the DMG for running a business, as well as the tailor was also a rogue, so he was also cool. Running like a crime ring at the same time.
Yeah, awesome.
Tailor, rogue, mayor.
Well, it's just, yeah, I see it. Yeah, easy tie in there. Yeah. Well, there's just so much cool stuff that you can do when you bring in those side things like running a business. Like, I was also involved with a thieves guild, so I had like a secret room down in the basement where I would be like a smuggler kind of drop point where stuff would kind of warehouse before it went out on the various ships to places it wasn't supposed to go. It was cool, and adds a lot of new hooks.
Sometimes you just gotta get your Han Solo on,
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
We figure we spent the first 10, 15 years kicking indoors, killing monsters. We do something different with the next 10.
Yeah, shake it up.
So, what was I going to say? I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
No problem.
You know what I wanted to say? You're not there quite yet because your wee ones are still a bit wee. But Gen Con, I'm actually road tripping with my son.
Cool.
So that should be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm like
my kids come to Gen Con, but they don't do the full con experience. They mostly just come on Saturday. So far is what we've done. For the costume parade is their big draw, and so they'll come in whatever costume they've got going on at the time, and come and see all the cosplayers. They love that.
Oh, that sounds like fun. That's something my daughter might enjoy. But other than that, she's not very nerdy at all. Right. That one's fun. That one is her thing since she's been 3 has been shoes and makeup and clothes.
Yeah, but costuming and cosplay, that's something that bridges all the different hobbies, right? If you're into anything in pop culture at all, there's a cosplayer for it, So that's sort of an interesting sort of a touchstone between all the different hobbies and fandoms and all that kind of stuff going on. So that's always good. Cosplayers, they just astound the hell out of me. The ones who build all their own costumes, like the guys walking around in 40K Space Marine armor that they built themselves, and just amazing. I love it.
They really make it hard for Hollywood, because like when Age of Apocalypse was coming out, the X-Men movie, they were showing images of their Apocalypse, and people are throwing up images of cosplayers going, right. Really? You got $1 million budget, millions of dollars for your budget, and you can't do better than the cosplayers,
right?
That do this, that are weekend warriors.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw a lot of that. People were not super happy about their vision of apocalypse, and people want the comic book or the old Saturday morning cartoon image of apocalypse, the big
But
A on his belt.
but they made it better than it was going to be.
Sure.
From the test shots that they were showing. So
Yeah.
so the fandoms and the cosplayers, they're important in that aspect. They
Yeah.
show they really do show what's kind of possible.
Well, I think that's the internet for you, right? And we've been seeing this in gaming just a lot lately. A lot of companies doing an open development or a more open playtest and feedback avenue, the way Wizards of the Coast is doing with Unearthed Arcana, where we get to play their stuff that they're thinking about and say, hey, this is great, I want more, or why are you trying to ruin my game? Why would you give them this ability? That is super cool. And now we've got, Xanathar's Guide to Everything coming up in the fall, and that is going to be the fruits of that open dialogue between designer and player and user, which has a lot of really cool implications. With a grain of salt, I feel like design by committee isn't necessarily the best thing, but
well, it gives them a basis to work from. So I'm excited to see what they do with it. At the end of the day, it's not like they're just going to like take all the opinions and be like, yeah, this is what it's going to be.
Oh, absolutely. It's more data, right? And more data gives you just a larger glimpse of what's going on out there in the gaming world, which can be very hard to gauge otherwise. So.
I would not be surprised if they just harvested all the data, sent it to a statistics company, and just got the data back, and then worked it from there.
Maybe. That's definitely the sort of thing you might outsource. Although I'm guessing with, I bet they have people at Wizards who do that for Magic, so I bet they can tap some of those departments to work the numbers.
Well, that's always a strong possibility.
Yeah.
But you saw it in the revisions as well, and also the way they were releasing the Unearthed Arcana. You really saw the progression, and they got much better about it in the way they did it. Because I know some of our criticisms were pretty harsh in the beginning, but then once I realized the methodology that they had to kind of like work towards, it made a lot more sense.
Yeah, and once you understand that they tend to err on the side of gonzo overpowered BS in the first release and then tone back, that helps put a lot in perspective.
That, and the other thing that it took me a little while to realize that they were doing intentionally is when they would use the same mechanics over and over again. Where, like, I would definitely give them a hard time when I'm like, all right, you just dropped 4 archetypes and 3 of them have the same ability.
Right.
Pretty lame. Come on, guys, get a little creative over there. Then and then I realized, oh, wait a minute, they just want to test that mechanic and see how it plays out.
Exactly. Yeah, they want to see how the mechanic works in different scenarios. If it has problems in one place, works in another. Yeah. Yep.
That's why those are pros, man.
Totally. Yeah, they the more I listen and the more I read and the more I watch, the more comfortable I am with them going forward and releasing new. I'll tell you, I don't want to see 5th Ed bloat and just die and rot the way previous editions did by releasing too much content too fast. And I know that's somewhat controversial. There's a lot of people out there that are starved for more options. They come from the 3rd edition, the Pathfinder, and they want that just overwhelming mountain of stuff that they get to dig through and fiddle with. But that's not for me. So I'm very happy with the pace that they're taking and the care that they're putting in to the things they are releasing. That is something that I think was missing from a lot of previous games and editions of D&D, and I'm glad to see it, because I think rampant garbage interactions and power creep and that's just not good for the game overall.
And you see them experiment with a little bit of that stuff too in some of the newer UAs, where they're like,
sure,
what happens when we add this bonus mechanic that it doesn't exist in 5e?
Right.
Waff Wrap. Changeling in the UA Eberron is so underpowered. All the Eberron ones were, and that's because they were actually created before 5th edition was finished, and they had them already sitting there, so they released them, is kind of what I've heard. So yeah, they're not gonna be in line, and I imagine all those might be vastly different when they finally do release them.
Yeah,
I think it was Rudy. He's the one that actually had filled me in on that, and they would know when it comes to Eberron.
Yeah, they have the direct line.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, you know, and I'd looked into some of Keith Baker's stuff where he would talk about if I had Eberron to do over again, I wouldn't do, say, for instance, Warforged the same way that I did. They had too many immunities. There was too much that they just ignored, too much of the game that just didn't affect them. And so when you look at the 5th ed version of the Warforged, where, you know, they're a humanoid, right? They don't have anything that says they're a construct, so their type is humanoid. So everything that works on humanoids works on them. But then they had a couple of extra things like the armor class, and you know, if you want to give them resistances to poison or disease, you do that. Instead of just, you know, by creature type making them blanket immune to 70% of the stuff they're going to face. That's not good. So I think some of that. Some of the cries of underpowered I find to be because you're comparing something now to something then, and you can't really do that. You have to reframe for 5th edition because it's a different animal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure eventually we're going to see we're going to see Eberron, and I'm curious to see what they do with them. I'm sure they're going to figure it out. But
yeah,
that's why they get paid the big bucks.
And it will be interesting to see when they start branching out into other full campaign settings. Like they kind of dip their toes in the pond with Ravenloft and Curse of Strahd, but Ravenloft is always a little bit of an add-on setting, if you will. Like they had the ability to play in a all Ravenloft campaign, but it was definitely meant for, you know, group from Greyhawk gets grabbed by the mists and is dropped into Ravenloft for a time and then goes back. So.
It's a cheat. It's like so they could do the same thing with Spelljammer too if they wanted to.
Yeah, they could. There could be a Spelljammer campaign. That's going to set the internet on fire. Everybody wants it.
Yeah. You know, I know like our group would like to see Dark Sun. It'd be interesting to see what they're going to do with that. You know, we've done some speculation.
Dark Sun has a huge cult following.
So all that Brahm art, man, it hooked us in. Planescape's another one they could probably get away with. So Doug did you work on the new creature components book at all?
So I did work. I did basically consulting work and some 5e convention sort of editing. I didn't do copy editing necessarily, but I looked over the 5th edition version and made sure, okay, does this fit in the 5e paradigm for magic items, for spells, for just raw mechanics, right? Oh, Al-Qadim, don't even get me started, man. We'll be here for hours talking about Al-Qadim. Excuse me. But yeah, so creature components for 5th edition. I worked on that in a sort of a consultation capacity, and just making sure that everything that Daniel Marshall and others had written and converted to 5e, to make sure that it just works in the context of the game. There was a little bit of work to do, some sanding, some rough edges, like maybe a spell or a mechanic that slipped in that was still a Pathfinderism. Got a ghost. But overall, that's a real solid book that's going to add some really cool options if you're wanting to dig into a little bit more meat of magic item crafting, or bring back the idea of power components to kind of boost your spells with these rare and exotic things that are inherently magical. There's a lot of cool stuff going on in that book. There's some feats. There's some cool stuff happening.
Sounds like it. It's definitely something to look into. We touched on it a little bit when Steve was on, and guys, if you go back, you can actually find a link to that in that live chat. Also, too, before I forget, all of Dan's information, well, probably not all of it, but at least a good chunk of it is in the description below. So if you want to stalk Dan on the interwebs, you may.
Sure, come and find me. I'm ready. I'm not.
You're always in the 5th edition groups, hanging out and talking.
Yep. I'm a moderator on Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition Facebook group, which is pushing right around 95,000 members now, and we have just an awful lot of active members, at least viewing, if not actively participating. And there are thousands of people, reacting, commenting, posting their own stuff. So there's a hell of a lot of 5e discussion going on there. Homebrew, critiques, you name it. 5e related, it's in there, and it's welcome. So we'd love to have you if you want to talk some D&D there.
So I know, I know you do stuff for Cobalt Press. I know you do stuff, for Horsemen. Are you doing anything in the DMs Guild on your own?
Not completely on my own. I do have a product that's slated for the DMs Guild, but that is again through Cobalt Press. I haven't pushed into the layout and and editing and actual product design kind of things just yet. I've been side-eyeing it, but I haven't gotten there yet. We'll see how well my thing through Cobalt Press does when that hits the DMs Guild. That I might have already talked about this before, but I'm going to do it again because I'm here. Why not? Like you said, we'll do things 4 times. I did a product that is a 5th edition version update of all of the tasked genies from the Al-Qadim campaign setting. Tasked genies are genies that have been summoned and set to a particular task so many times or for so long over the course of centuries that their nature actually changed. So in this Ifrit that's been set to guard your treasure and kill any thieves that come in, it's no longer a normal Ifrit. It becomes something else. And there's, I want to say 13 or so different tasked genies that are very sort of molded for a specific task. And they range in challenge rating from like 2 all the way up to 12 or 13, something like that. So there's quite a few of them. As well as there are 4 new, never before seen true genies in there as well. So different riffs on genie tropes and things you can do with them, as well as a template. That'll be fun for genies who've been bound into a prison for too long and are no longer right. So there's some cool stuff in there, and some player options as well. I did the Gen familiars for Shire. If you're familiar with those guys from the Al-Qadim campaign setting, they're kind of like little mini genies who can hang out and be your buddy. So I did 5e versions of them, as well as rules for taking those as a familiar.
So at first, when you said you're doing a release into the DMs Guild through Cobalt, I was really confused. But then you brought it all in.
Yeah. So Cobalt has done that once before. They had the Gem Dragons of Faerun that was written by James Hake, and okay, can't help you right now. Just hit I accept. Go on. And it did really well. It's gone platinum at this point. It's gotten an endorsement by Ed Greenwood himself. So yeah, that's 5th edition versions of the Gem Dragons, if you remember those guys. So Cobalt has definitely dipped their claw into it, and we're going to try again with the Task Genies. So hopefully that'll work out nice.
I do the Loogie of Doom. Exploding Loogies. That was Gem Dragons.
That was the Amethyst Dragon, if I remember right, wasn't it? They hawk a big
boom. Yeah. Yes.
Yep.
I'm pretty yes. Yeah. So that's all good stuff. The natives seem to be a little bit restless over there, so we'll wrap it up. We're right around that time anyway. Is there anything you want to plug real quick before you go?
Let's see. I think we hit most of the stuff that's popping around right now. Creature components for 5th edition from Playground Adventures. We hit the Tome of Beasts, of course. A lot of great stuff over on the Cobalt website. Oh, and I do want to say that if you're interested in Cobalt Press stuff in general, or the Midgard campaign setting in particular, Cobalt has just launched a Cobalt Press and Midgard Facebook group. So that's a discussion group just for all things Cobalt. And I know that a lot of the designers are in there. I'm in there. Wolfgang's in there. That's a kind of an easy way to get a direct line with Midgard fans, Cobalt designers, everybody related, anybody who wants to talk about it. So that's open for business now, and you should be able to track that down without too much difficulty, and I'll make sure to send you a link for that, so you can put that, maybe update the description with that.
Yeah, I'll drop that in the description. Yeah, actually, I just found that group, or it found me, maybe. I think
someone might have tagged you in on it.
I got sucked in.
Yeah,
it's all good though. Before we go, guys, remember we still have the GoFundMe campaign going on. We're trying to get out to LA for GM tips to hang out with Satine Phoenix and also Rudy Rutenberg, and we have had TL on here in the past as well, and she's tied in with the Nerdist and Geek and Sundry and Legendary Entertainment. So we got some cool things planned, but it's pretty expensive going out to LA for us, so we could use a hand thanks for everyone who's already helped us out. We really do appreciate it. If you can give, do. If you can't, please just share it out on social media. We appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. So
yeah,
with
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's good. So with that, all the Dan stuff's in the description. Go check it out. Go follow him. You know, guys didn't know we're bringing on a VIP GM, did you?
Yes, guest VIP GM, Adventurers League certified.
Yeah, you can put that on your resume now.
I will. I absolutely will.
Well, thanks for coming on, Dan. So until next time, guys, stay nerdy.